it is Brett, and I am back with another weekly video to help you out during your wedding planning process. So today's video is kind of a continuation of last week's video. If you haven't seen it yet, just go back and go ahead and watch that. So what we talked about last week was your vendors and knowing how long to hire each of them for, because that is going to help you out with your budget, and that way you can budget for how many hours you need each of them. So in order to tell you how many hours you need each of your vendors for, I made a timeline, and I am going to go over this with you step by step so that way you can see what goes on during the wedding and what you need each vendor to be here for. So let's start with hair and makeup. Each girl is going to take 45 minutes for hair, 45 minutes for makeup, and then add about another 30 minutes total for the bride because she's going to take a little bit more time. Obviously, the bride needs to look perfect, and so she's going to just have a little bit more time added to her. So let's start with how many bridesmaids you have, how many moms, how many flower girls, things like that, to determine how many hours of hair and makeup team you need. I will tell you, if you have more than, I would say, 4 girls, you're probably going to, actually probably 3. If you have more than 3 girls, you're probably going to want to have at least 2 team members. So 1 person for hair, 1 person for makeup, or however they want to determine that, but you're definitely going to want to have more than 1 person. If you have like 8 people getting hair and makeup done and you have 1 person doing all of these services, you are going to be there forever. You will probably have to start at like midnight to be ready by the next day on time. So just make sure you are taking into consideration 45 minutes for hair, 45 minutes for makeup, and how many bridesmaids you have. And then let's talk about the amount of hours you need to be ready in. I highly recommend doing pictures with you and your girls at least an hour before the ceremony. This is going to save you a lot of time after the ceremony, so that way you're not having to do as many pictures and you can get inside, get to the party a little bit faster. So if you're doing pictures an hour before your ceremony, or if you're doing a first look with your groom, then you're going to do about 2 hours before the ceremony, so that way you have enough time to do all of your pictures together, all the pictures with your family, all the pictures with bridesmaids and groomsmen. So just take into consideration how much time you're going to need for that. And then let's talk about your DJ. So a DJ, I would tell you to be at the venue about an hour, hour and a half before the ceremony, so that way they can get everything set up, make sure their equipment is working properly, they can go over the timeline with your coordinator, make sure that they are both on the same page for everything. You don't want the DJ announcing, hey, it's time for cake cutting, and your planner's in the back like, no, it's not. We're not doing that. So making sure that everyone is on the same page. You're going to want your DJ here in enough time to go over that timeline together. So with the DJ getting here about an hour, hour and a half before the ceremony, you're going to want to make sure that he is hired through the very, very end. If there is no music, there is no party. So the DJ needs to be here until the very, very end. Let's go over the day of timeline so that way you know about how many hours that's going to be. Let's just say, for example, say your ceremony starts at 5:30. I have a whole timeline here that I made. So at 5:30, that means that we are going to be sending down your officiant, your grandparents, your parents, bridesmaids, groomsmen, everyone. It takes about 5 minutes to get everyone down the aisle and in place. And then let's just say that you have about a 20-minute ceremony, and then your officiant says, thank you all so much for coming. You are dismissed inside for cocktail hour. Great. That means that now it is about 6 o'clock. So ceremony started at 5:30. Now it is 6 o'clock and it is time for cocktail hour. If you didn't do a first look and you need to take all of your pictures after the ceremony, you're gonna need at least an hour. If you did a first look, then I would tell you you only need about 20 minutes for pictures of the 2 of you. So take that into consideration. So let's just say that we did pictures of the groom and the guys, the bride and all her bridesmaids, and we only need about 45 minutes for pictures. Great. Then that means that the bride would be upstairs in her bridal suite. At about 6:45, getting her dress bustled. You want to make sure that you have your dress bustled before you go down into your reception. This is also when you would take out your veil, touch up your lipstick, touch up your makeup, use the restroom, anything like that. So now that we've done all of those touch-ups, you have been bustled, everything's good. It's about 7 o'clock now. So at 7 o'clock, that's when the DJ would announce the grand entrance. So this can be either just the two of you or all of your wedding party and then the two of you. Regardless, that's gonna take about 5 minutes. My favorite thing to do is to do your grand entrance, get to the bottom of the stairs, and then do your first dance under the chandelier, because the attention is already on you from the grand entrance. So that is the perfect moment to go ahead and do that first dance. So now that the first dance is over, it is about 7:08. These are estimated times, guys. Things can kind of happen, so I'm just estimating for you. But it's about 7:08. Then take into consideration, do you have anyone that you want to give a blessing or a welcome speech before dinner? Give about 5 minutes for that. So then now we have the buffet opening. That would be at about 7:15. So when the buffet opens, take into consideration your guest count. I think the average buffet is about 45 minutes whenever everyone gets through it. They get time to eat. You don't want people to feel rushed eating because you're on to the next activity. You want to give them time to actually enjoy their meal. So what I personally recommend doing is having the bride and groom be the very first person to get their plates. If you have our coordination package, we will actually bring your plates to you, so that way you are the first people to get to eat. So that way, as soon as you're done eating, you can go around table to table and say, "Hi, thank you so much for coming, so good to see you." That way you can actually talk to all of your guests instead of getting home and realizing, "Oh my gosh, I never said hi to Aunt Mary." Like, you want to make sure that you get to go table to table and say hi to everyone. So during dinner, that is the perfect time to do it. That way, when people are waiting on their turn to go to the buffet line, you can be talking to that table. So let's say that it takes about 45 minutes for y'all to get around, say hi to everyone. That is a challenge because people try to talk and talk and talk. 45 minutes might seem like a long time, but it's really not. You definitely want to try and keep those conversations short and get on to the next table. So after you have visited with each of your tables, then my personal recommendation is to go into cake cutting. Honestly, every vendor has a different order of events that they like to do things, and it really doesn't matter that much. My reason that I go into cake cutting next is because people pay attention to the word cake. I don't know why it's like this, but every time I've ever tried to go into toast and everyone's like dinging their glasses or like, "Hey guys, now we're gonna do the toast," people don't pay attention. But if you say, "Hey everyone, now they're cutting the cake," people are like, "Cake? Cake?" And they get excited and they pay attention. So I like to do cake first just because it's easier for me. And then after the cake, your servers can be cutting the cake while everyone else is doing toast. That gives them time to be cutting it and putting it on plates while everyone else is focused on toast. So pretend that y'all went around, you talked to all of your tables and everything. So let's do cake cutting at say 8:15. So after cake cutting, then we would do toast at about 8:20. A cake cutting really does not take very long at all. You cut a little piece, feed each other a bite, short, sweet. So after your toast at about 8:20, I would tell you to estimate about 5 minutes per person giving a toast. That is why you really don't want to have 8 people giving toast. You want to keep it under, I would say under 5 people is best. Usually by that 5th person, everyone's like, okay, we're tired of hearing people talk. Like, we get it, they're great, we love them too, but that's enough. Like, don't sit there and have an hour of toast. It just kind of gets very daunting and people get drowsy. So 5 minutes per person is plenty of time. I would even tell you 3 minutes per person is the sweet spot. Leave them on a high note. Don't draw it out too long. And then make sure you're limiting the number of people who are giving the toast. Little side tip for you, if you have a lot of people that want to give toast or that you want to give toast, have them do toast at the rehearsal dinner. That is the perfect place to do toast, and then they can take all the time that they want. So let's pretend that we had a couple people do toast and that was at 8:20. So at about 8:35, we're gonna go into special dances. My favorite way to go into special dances is to have the father of the bride be the very last person to give a toast. And so that way at the end of his toast, he can ask his daughter, he can say, "Can I please have this dance?" And that leads you right into the father-daughter dance. So after the father-daughter dance would be the mother-son dance, keeping in mind that every family is different. So whether the bride be dancing with her uncle, her grandfather, whoever you were dancing with, these are just terms that we use, but I know everyone dances with a different person. That's totally fine. So have all those special dances. Then that would leave us having the open dance floor at about 8:45. So that got you all the way from a 5:30 ceremony to an 8:45 open dance floor, and that was constantly having something, something, something. So that just shows you how many activities there are until that open dance floor happens. And then a lot of times when the open dance floor happens, people are doing things such as like the dollar dance, the anniversary dance, the shoe game, things like that can also take place at this time. So this is when I would tell you that it's really up to you how long of an open dance floor you want to have. And when I say open dance floor, it doesn't mean that you have to be dancing the whole time. This is also the time that you could be walking around, visiting people that you want to talk to a little bit more. So the average event time, I will tell you, is 5 hours. So if we had open dance floor at 8:45, but our ceremony was at 5:30, then that means 10:30 is going to be our grand exit. But let me give you a tip. Just because your exit is at 10:30 doesn't mean you should start preparing for your exit at 10:30. What it really means is that 9:45, you need to be doing your bouquet and your garter toss. That gets people riled up. I always like to wait kind of towards the end of the night to do that. It's always really, really fun. Side note again, girls, make sure your bouquet is thrown behind your shoulder and not up, or you will hit the chandelier in the ballroom. It has happened a bunch of times. So make sure that bouquet is going back, not up. But pretend that you did your bouquet toss at 9:45. Then at about 10 o'clock, your coordinator should be gathering your bags for the car. Or you can designate this job to the best man and maid of honor. Tell them to go into the bridal and the groom suites and get any of your stuff from the night ready to go to put in the getaway car. This is also when you need to have your getaway car arrive. So that way everything can be loaded into it, it can be decorated, everything can be ready and good to go for the exit. All right, so now that your getaway car is ready to go, it should be about 10:15. This is when the DJ should announce for everyone to head outside for the grand exit. I know that you're saying, but grand exit isn't till 10:30. Why are we going outside at 10:15? Y'all, it takes forever to get people to go outside because everyone wants to come up to you, hug you, tell you thank you for having us. It takes forever to make people go outside. So at least by 10:15, you should be telling everyone to head on outside. Then that gives us about 10:25 that we actually have everyone outside lined up. And then if you're gonna do a private dance, this would be when you do that private final dance while we're lining everyone up, passing out sparklers, passing out bubbles, whatever your little getaway object is, we're passing that out while you're doing your private dance. And then that puts you right at 10:30 to exit the doors, run down your little aisle, get in your getaway car. Everyone's cheering and it's so much fun. And then guests can grab their stuff and head on home and the cleanup begins. So I hope that this kind of timeline helped you out. If you're sitting there thinking 8:45 to 10:30 or 10:15 really is not enough of an open dance floor, then that's when you would need to consider extending your time. And that's when you need to start thinking about, okay, I need DJ for another hour, photographer for another hour, just to give you a general idea of what a day of timeline looks like. So I hope that this video helped you out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Your coordinator should also be making a timeline for you about a month before the wedding, so that will be a big help as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.